Welcome back, everyone, to the Duke Men's Lacrosse Show. I'm JD Blitch with Coach John Danowski, head coach of Duke Men's Lacrosse, and today we are lucky enough to be joined by assistant coach Matt Danowski. Matt works with the offense and was a prolific player at Duke from 2004 to 2008, playing 2 years under his dad and stuffing the stat sheet as an attackman. He's a three-time first-team All-American and winner of the 2007 Tewaaraton Award, which is the Heisman of college lacrosse. And he's also one of the friendliest guys you'll ever meet. So, Matt, we're delighted to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
JD, thanks for having me, man. Very excited to be here. Appreciate the introduction and the kind parts at the end. Absolutely.
We've got a lot to get to today, and I want to start with you. Duke just played its fifth game of the season on Saturday, winning 19-10 against Denver, and attackman Dyson Williams scored his fifth hat trick of the year. What has been the key to his hot start so far, and what have you seen from him in terms of preparation and execution that the casual fan may not pick up on or just doesn't get the opportunity to see?
Well, I think Dyson is right now he's a product of playing with a bunch of really good guys. He's a hardworking, humble kid. He understands his role in the offense, and I think he's playing with a lot of confidence, not trying to do too much, just trying to take the game as it kind of comes to him. And we were really unselfish on Saturday, which was a goal of ours coming off of last weekend where I thought offensively we were a little sticky. The ball wasn't shared as much. And Dyson's, listen, he's got a unique skill set in his hands, his Canadian lacrosse background, and his lacrosse IQ for the outdoor game is getting better. You know, he missed his first half of his freshman year, the second half of his freshman year because of COVID. So, and he played some midfield last year because of the addition of Sowers. So, I think he's just getting more comfortable playing attack and running out of the box a little bit. And I think he's just a product of continuing to get better every day.
Absolutely. And something your dad and I talked about last week on the show is Duke's offense is very balanced. It's not just Dyson Williams providing the goals. It's Brennan O'Neill and Joe Robertson and Nakai Montgomery, a host of others. So as the director of the offense, or the offensive coordinator, if you will, how does having such a talented roster help you when you're drawing up plays and figuring out how to dissect an opposing defense?
You know, well, the biggest thing for us is we're a motion-based offense, right? So we talked before the game last week about how when you play offense first, your role changes every pass. You know, you go from a dodger to an off-ball guy to two passes away, and we're just getting the guys to try to buy into that. And I think they're bought into it, but they just have to continue to get better at it and learn. Like, we demand our guys to be all-around offensive lacrosse players. I'm not just a lefty finisher. I'm not just an inside guy. And that takes a lot of IQ, and it takes a lot of humility because some of these guys come from high school programs with the balls in their sticks the entire time. And it takes guys to, you know, be willing to kind of buy into the system. And I think we're getting better at that and moving towards that. And I think we saw that on Saturday as the ball was just moving more than it was, and guys were moving fast without the ball. And so it's, you know, again, we try to be balanced around here. We want to be fast, so our attackmen have more points in terms of drawing the field the most and scoring in transition. And Joe, Rob, and Brennan did that a bunch on Saturday. And our midfielders did a good job of balancing the field, you know, starting the offense up top, getting it below the goal line, and kind of condensing them a little bit. And I think our guys are just buying into the motion-based offense that we're trying to install.
And what can the offense do, and what can you do from the sideline to help the unit improve and make sure the ball is getting inside to the crease and the team's getting good shot selection?
Well, we got to continue to get better as individuals. You know, we put a lot of focus on that in practice. We do a lot of individual work. We got to make sure the guys are continuing to progress and get better as the year goes on. And then when each individual gets better, obviously the offense will get better. So a little chemistry hopefully kicks in, some confidence kicks in, and, you know, some buy-in kicks in. And, you know, that's going to help us get better every game. And as we see more defenses and more different styles of play, there's only so many things you can do on a lacrosse field. So, you know, every once in a while we'll throw in a set that will kind of just get the guys back on track. You know, if the offense looks like it's sputtering a little bit, or guys look like they're not sure what's up, we'll throw a little bit more of a not really a set play. We don't really like to be play-based, but just something that they're comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, we want our guys to think less and play fast, and that comes from being comfortable and confident. So we certainly don't want to slow them down. They're all high-level athletes, and we don't want to take the foot off the gas that way.
Absolutely. It's been a solid attack so far. And Coach Danowski, I want to shift to you. First off, congrats on the win on Saturday. What were some of the things you liked from the team's performance, and what did you see that wasn't so sharp that will need to be addressed in practice?
Well, you know, just like in every season, I think this game was a microcosm of what we kind of teach our guys to expect. We go up 3-1, we go down 5-3. We fight back to make it 5-5. Defensively, it didn't look right in the first quarter, but then we hold Denver, who's a really prolific, scoring team, to 3 goals in the box for the next 45 minutes. So our ability to adjust, our ability to recognize situations, take a deep breath, realize it's a 60-minute game. We had 19 goals with 11 minutes to go in the game. I mean, we scored 19 goals, in 51 minutes, which you got to be really happy about. And we scored them in a variety of ways. We scored them 3 off the face-off. We scored 11 in the box. We were over 40% effective in the box, so we're happy there. We scored goals on man-up. We scored goals in the half-field game. And that's how you get to 19. You don't get to 19 by just scoring 19 goals in the box set offense. You need to score in different ways. I think the current game, we're still a work in progress. We can be better at that. I think the writing game, we overcoached the guys a little bit early on, and then we got back to what we do best, and we're able to turn them over a couple times and get some easy, some extra possessions. So overall, it was, I agree with Matt, it was a very unselfish team effort up and down the field.
Sweet. And the team's man-down defense has been really good up to this point in the season. When it's 5-on-6, opponents are just not converting a super high rate of their man-up opportunities. What has been the key to the defense's success so far in that area, with man-down?
Well, the first thing is, the ability to move together as a group, and then to be really fundamentally sound, which means having your sticks to the inside, trying to take away passing lanes. You want your goalies to see really the best shots that you could give them on man down. The other day that Denver did score twice on man down, but they were right. One was on the back pipe, and one where we didn't get to, and the other one was from inside. Because you want your goalies to see shots from 10 to 12 yards and man down, or from bad angles. The 2 shots that they had the other day were impossible. So it's really good team position, and then it's really solid goalie play behind that.
Absolutely. And one thing from the Denver game the defense was able to do really well is take away the opposing team's best player, or one of their best players. Jack Hanna was held to 0 goals and 1 assist. Do you see that trend continuing in future games, where the defense will be able to handle a game-breaking player, so to speak, or how's the team able to do that on Saturday?
Well, I think every week you go into a game and saying we want to defend the knowns, meaning who are their best players and who do we really have to be aware of. And so 3 and 33 were the 2 guys that we really wanted to be on top of. And I think, again, we did a good job holding both of them to no goals. Now, number 5, Silstrop, that's another story because he had 5. But 2 out of 3, as Meatloaf said, is not bad. So we'll settle for that.
Yes, sir. And we talked last week about team building during the off season and the importance of guys having real conversations with one another. But is there anything you do in season, or more specifically on the field during practice, to help build team chemistry, maybe like a passing drill or something like that? I feel as if team chemistry is often this abstract term, and it's kind of hard to pin down exactly what it is, but what do you do to make sure the team is playing smoothly and in rhythm?
For us, we've always felt like chemistry, team dynamic trumps everything. Mm-hmm. Trumps athleticism, trumps IQ. If you don't have chemistry, you can be great athletes, you can have a great IQ, but the team will look like that, will look dysfunctional. And so we think that's really important. What we do is the night before a game, we always have a team meeting. We have peanut butter and jelly. We have cookies and milk, and we call it putting the guys to bed. And so it's usually 8, 9 o'clock at night, and we have an hour meeting, which is a combination of some X's and O's, might be some film, some preparation for our opponent, and then some sort of team building where it always comes around to the guys talking about either themselves or to each other, but trying to get them out of their comfort zone, because whatever they're thinking, that guy next to them is thinking the same thing. It's hard at Duke because we have a lot of alpha males. We have a lot of young men who have been very successful in their careers, but they don't like talking about themselves or their failures or facing their insecurities. And we try to get them to talk about those things so they can recognize and, they can help each other.
Yes, sir. And pushing just a little bit further, you said last year, right after the loss to Maryland in the Final Four, that team chemistry is something the 2021 team maybe never really found, and it was just talented enough to get away with that up until that point. What did you learn from last year's team and the loss to Maryland that you've applied to this year?
Well, it's nothing that we've applied. It's just the natural, it's organically, it just has moved forward. If you remember last year, everybody checked in, got swabbed, and then had to quarantine in their rooms. Nobody had roommates. Nobody had a roommate on the road. You had to wear N95 masks. There was no locker room in the fall. So it was just practice and then go home. There were grab-and-go meals. There weren't 5 or 6 guys sitting around a restaurant or sitting around, the West Union, eating dinner. So all those things that were never in our control were gone. And so, the whole team dynamic became, just about impossible, to build.
Absolutely. And it sure has been nice to not have COVID be as big of a concern this season. And Matt, back to you. I want to take you back to your days as a player for Duke. Your first season was 2004, but Coach Danowski didn't become the Duke head coach until summer of 2006. What was it like having your dad join you at Duke, and were you surprised by anything he did as a head coach, or did you kind of have him figured out and knew what to expect?
No, so, I came here in 2004. Mike Press was the head coach. Joel Barisi, the assistant, who's now the head coach at Army, and Coach Lancey, who's now the head coach at Durham Academy here locally. So, different cultures in terms of, the kind of philosophy behind team building and coaching, and we had some really good success when Coach Press went to the Final Four in 2005, and we did a good job there. And 2006 happened. So, I think as a team, you're kind of wired a certain way, right? You do something for 2.5, close to 3 years under one staff, and then a new staff comes in, and it's different. You just got to adjust to it, and it's unique to the staff and the personality of the staff. So, we had Coach Cassis, who was with us, and who was now the head coach of Lehigh. He was our assistant in 2007. So he was a good conduit. He was here with the older staff, and he was here for a year when my dad came in, the new staff. So that was helpful in terms of having a familiar face around, and my dad could probably bounce himself off of him and be like, "What these guys? What's their deal? They're hard to coach. They're not paying attention to me." All that stuff. So, I didn't know what to expect really, especially coming off of 2006. You're just living one day at a time at that point. So, it was certainly a much different dynamic than what we were previously under. And then you add in freshmen to that mix, and you add in you're a senior now, and the sense of urgency that you have of upon graduation, it's your last season, all that stuff. So I don't think there's any way to prepare for any of that besides taking one day at a time.
Absolutely. And I imagine then, as the coach's son, you were probably able to give a scouting report to your teammates on what to do and what not to do. Were the guys looking to you for the formula of how to do well under Coach Danowski? And
yeah, I mean, I think one of your jobs is when your dad's the coach is like you gotta do everything to the extremes. In terms of practice, and when it's time to push back a little bit, you gotta be the one to push back so the guys know that it's okay. When it comes to the weight room and the running and stuff, like you gotta kind of lead by example in that way, and then you can kind of help guys along, like, hey, he's joking with you. He's not being that serious. Like, relax. It's not a big deal. And I think guys were, it was just an adjustment to the personality of not only him, but the staff in general. So, like Coach Gabrielli was here, and he went to my high school, actually, played lacrosse at UMass. Really tough dude. So I think guys understood him a little easier because I was similar to our older staff. So my dad came in, he was a little lighter, a little more emphasis on team building. And guys were, certainly had to adjust and be like, couldn't tell if he was serious or not for a while. So, and I really didn't know either most of the time. So, but when your dad's the coach, you kind of have to, take on some of that stuff to just put everybody else at ease a little bit. So like, I don't want to get in a fight with Matt's dad kind of deal, you know? And it's like, well,
For sure,
yeah,
for sure. And what's one thing you have to have as a player under Coach Danowski? Like, if you don't do this or you don't have this trait, you're just not going to make it.
That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever actually received that one before, but I think what the guys here who are successful buy in and listen to the message of just be yourself. You know, don't give me the general answer. Don't give me what you think I want to hear. Just be true to yourself. And when guys get comfortable with that, and they just, you know, they're comfortable in their own skin and they're confident in who they are. Because everybody who comes here is obviously, like Coach said earlier, is an alpha male, great student, really good kid. But they got to kind of be themselves. They got to break away from their parents and what they think they're supposed to be and who they're supposed to be, and just be who they are. And once they give into that, I think they end up having more success and they have more fun because they're not worried about what everybody else is thinking. What people back home are thinking, what their friends are thinking. They just are, you know. And I think what Coach does a great job trying to do is just get the kids to understand that who you are is enough, and you don't have to beat somebody who you're not. And sometimes it takes 18 to 22-year-olds a little longer to get that.
Absolutely, but authenticity is definitely a useful trait in any area of life. And Coach, in sports, a team will often take on the identity of the head coach. So if the coach is super intense, the team will be super intense. My question for you is, what are some aspects of your personality that you hope transfer over to the teams that you're coaching?
Another great question, JD, man. You're on your game today. I think the first thing is, we're looking for balance. It's a long season, and if the hope is you're playing on the last weekend, you have to you regulate the ups and downs of a season, and so that requires balance. It requires you have to juggle school. They have to juggle relationships. They may have personal relationships. Guys may have girlfriends. They may have issues with their family. Things at home. Certainly their academic workload. What's expected of them in practice. And there are games where there's things don't go your way and the team wins. There are things there are times when things go your way and the team loses. And so how do you justify all the balance of all the things you need to help the team be the best that they can be, and to learn from your mistakes. And it's a lot when you really think about it. And so I think the word is really to try to keep an even head, right? Try to laugh at yourself when it's appropriate. Try to be a little angry with yourself when you know that you've made a mistake and you got to correct that. And that takes a tremendous amount of maturity, which sometimes guys aren't ready for, and or a team is not ready for, in general. And so, I think the answer real simply is can you balance your emotions? Can you balance the challenges that you have each day so that you're ready to face them?
Absolutely. That's a great thing to transfer over to the players. And now let's go to the face-off. This is a section where it's a little bit more quick-hitter questions, rapid-fire style. We'll have 2 for Matt and 2 for Coach. Matt, you're now retired as a player, but when it was game day for you and you had a big game that day, what's your go-to breakfast?
Go-to breakfast. I don't really like breakfast that much, but if I had to, afternoon game, I would probably stay really light. Bagel, pancakes, something a little bit lighter for me, but I'm not a huge breakfast guy.
Okay. And when it's game day for you as a coach, what's your favorite pair of shoes to wear on the sidelines?
Well, if I could, I would wear a pair of my Jordan 11s, but I don't want to ruin them because the grass is still a little wet. The fescue hasn't really come in yet, so I don't want to get any muddy on the bottom. So for now, I got my Nike golf shoes on that are my 270s, which are all weather. So keep my feet dry, and I think they look pretty good.
All right. It's a great compromise. They do look good. And, Coach, what's the last movie you've seen?
Last movie I've seen, Deja Vu, Denzel Washington. I thought it just came out. Then Matt told me it was 2006. But a little science fiction, a little, a lot of high tech, and love Denzel Washington. He can't make a bad movie. For
sure. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you recommend the movie to a friend?
9+.
All right.
9, awesome.
That's a great rating. If you were to buy a sports car and money were not a problem, what car would you drive?
I actually had this car at one point in my life, and for whatever reason, I gave it up. But I would go back with a Ford Mustang convertible.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem was that I couldn't get the whole staff in the car to go take them to lunch. And so the staff complained a lot that the car was too small. So I gave it up.
Oh, man.
And I regret that to this day.
Of course. That's a great car. And let's take a look at what's next for the team. Duke plays tomorrow at home against Delaware. It's a 3 p.m. face-off, and Delaware's 3-0 on the season. What challenges will the Blue Hens present to the Blue Devils tomorrow?
Well, a couple of things. They didn't play Saturday, so they've had over a week to prepare for us. Now they've got 5 films on us, and certainly they will maybe, they'll know our tendencies. Hopefully we'll give them a lot to consider, after Saturday's game. And so they'll be well rested, and they'll be everybody who plays Duke is excited to play Duke. Ben DeLuca was on our staff for 2 years, and so he knows our program, he knows our coaching style and the way we go about things. Matt Rakowski, former player here who transferred from Duke to Johns Hopkins back in the day, who knows Duke intimately as well. So their coaching staff is going to be fired up for this game. Their players are going to be excited, and we're going to have to match their intensity early on in this one.
Absolutely. And in addition, Duke plays on Saturday against Penn. It'll be the first non-home game of the season. It's a noon face-off at MacArthur High School in Levittown, New York on Long Island. This is a Penn team that's 0-1, but gave the number 3 team in the country, Georgetown, a run for its money. I know the main focus is Delaware tomorrow, but what are your thoughts on the Penn game, and what's the biggest concern that the team is going to present to Duke?
The biggest concern I have for Saturday is playing on Long Island. We have a lot of Long Island guys, and it's hard to go home and play well. But we wanted we want to provide as many different types of challenges. Certainly, our opponent is going to provide the biggest challenge, but it's said a lot. I guess it's written a lot. Your biggest opponent consistently is yourself, right? And so, I think that going home, playing in front of 3,000 people, that people will be lined up on the sideline, and they're bringing in temporary bleachers, and there'll be a great crowd, and they want to see Duke to handle your emotions individually and as a team is going to be a real challenge for our young men, and I'll be curious to see how we do with that. Absolutely.
Well, there's no doubt it's an exciting week for Duke lacrosse coming up. The team will be facing 2 stingy defenses, so we'll see if the offensive success continues, and we'll have plenty to recap on Episode 3 next week. So Matt and Coach Danowski, I can't thank you all enough for taking the time to talk about Duke lacrosse. And Matt, this was way too much fun not to have you on for another episode later this season. I hope we can get you on again.
Well, if you'll have me back, I'll be here.
Excellent.
Matt, hold on. Do you have a question here for JD? A quick hitter? I got a quick hitter for JD.
Go for it.
All right, man. What are you reading now?
I'm reading a book. It's called Stolen Focus. It's brand new. It came out in 2022. It's about how my generation has really lost its ability to think deeply and focus when the time is right to focus. So it's been really interesting reading that, and I'm only about halfway through, but it's good stuff so far.
I knew that I would get a great answer from you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Coach. Well, that concludes this edition of the Duke Men's Lacrosse Show. Thanks for tuning in to Episode 2, and we look forward to next week. Go Duke!